Good morning, Mandy. Welcome to Marketing Blueprint. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being more and more people following us on various social media. Thank you for your interest in marketing careers. Today, I'm bringing a new guest to Marketing Blueprint, a world famous guest. The CMO of Nutanix is joining us today. Mandy, good morning. How are you doing today?
Wonderful, Julian. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here in Paris.
Well, I was going to say something a little bit unusual. Usually I have to do late night recordings because very often I have guests in California. For the first time, I have a Californian guest coming all the way to Paris. Maybe I would be a bit presumptuous to believe that was just for the interview that you came to the Paris office, but thank you for joining us in my home country. How has the trip been so far?
Trip's been great so far. You know, business travel, we had a few hours to come check in and then we hit the ground running. We've been at meetings. We have a big event today in Paris, our .next on tour. So we are ready to kick that off here in about 90 minutes. So really exciting stuff going on.
All right. Well, thank you for joining, even though it's for another event, not really for the interview that you traveled, but still appreciate being on my time zone. What I usually do at Marketing Blueprint is I like to start with a review of your background, the few companies you've worked at previously. And since I'm basing everything on the information I found online, I'll just go through it and then I'll let you tell me whether I get it right or whether there are a few things missing. Good for you?
Absolutely.
So you actually did not start your career in the US. You started your career in Canada. You worked at a very tiny company called TELUS that happens to be a giant in Canada and not just there, as marketing manager. At the time, you started focusing on acquisition mostly. Then you became a director at Navigata Communication. You moved to California at the time to focus on strategic alliances, which is another aspect of marketing at Lake Ecosystem. You worked for another tiny company called Dell for about 4 years as senior director, then VP marketing at Solsta. And then you took the CMO job, first at Blazemeter, then Fugue, Boomi, and now working at Nutanix as well. But you also happen to be the founding members of two very large communities, one that is CMO Huddles and the other one being Chief, the second one having 500,000 followers online. I'm just talking LinkedIn. I'm guessing there is even more on probably other platforms. And you also happen to be the member of the board of directors at Quick. Did I miss something? Is that accurate?
All of that professional history is 100% accurate. I will say I took a little bit of time off to start my personal aspect of my life and that family. But it's definitely been a very rich career. Lots of learnings, lots of different sizes of businesses, and lots of wonderful people that I've met along the way.
That I bet. Actually, looking at your career, it's fairly straightforward. You started in marketing at TELUS, then climbing one step of the ladder at a time, all the way till becoming CMO. You've tried multiple aspects of marketing. I mentioned you started with acquisition, you did strategic alliances, you've tested many different aspects of the marketing scope throughout your career. But it was fairly straightforward. It's almost like it was written. Was it a goal when you started your career? Did you want to become a CMO, or it just happened this way?
It was very deliberate. I had a very clear North Star as to how I was going to get there. Was obviously what I had to navigate. But I knew that I wanted to be in this seat. So I often say that I am who I wanted to be when I grew up.
I think very few people can be exactly where they wanted to be that early in their career. How do you feel now? Because you've been a CMO for quite a few years already, in four different companies, I believe. So what is your new ambition now? What is your new goal now that you've hit that early goal of yours?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I learn every day. And so for me, it's less about the title, Now it's about what I'm contributing and what I'm taking, right? So I think for me, if I were to summarize my career, it's been about growth and curiosity, both for me personally, the growth and curiosity, but also driving growth at the businesses I've been a part of. And so I look at that, and that's what I do today. You know, Nutanix, we're on a journey to become a household name in hybrid cloud infrastructure. And it's a formidable challenge, and they're hard problems. And so from a career perspective, if you're solving hard problems and you're learning and you're making a big difference, for me, that was my formula.
So you said earlier that becoming a CMO was a goal for you. How young were you when you knew that marketing was going to be your career and CMO was going to be your goal? Is it like a childhood dream, or is it a post university career plan?
Yeah, funny sidebar. My childhood dream, my parents had almost architected it for me. My initials are MD because they wanted me to be a medical doctor.
All right.
Very creative.
Yep.
And so I knew in high school that it wasn't for me. Biology, I was always a good student, but I just wasn't fascinated by it. And so I started my undergrad at Simon Fraser University in British Columbia in Canada. And I really didn't know how I was going to get to where I wanted to, but I knew I wanted a career in business, maybe law school at the time I was thinking of, but I wanted something in corporate. And so I did a very important internship that helped me understand marketing. And my very first marketing course I took, take it or leave it, I did not really care about it. It was more just very basic theory, introductory. But once I got into this internship, I was a product marketing intern at a company called Nortel Networks in Calgary, Alberta. So me, with about a dozen interns from our university, went to go work at this company. And as a result, the team that I got put into was working in a B2B space, selling to their largest telco customers, hence the linkage to TELUS. And so I got a front row seat and was able to run marketing programs that were driving impact at second-year university student. And so after that 4-month stint in Calgary, I came back with much clarity around I wanted to work in the B2B space and I needed to be in technology marketing. And I've never wavered.
And would you say, the way you present it, it looks like your first job or your first internship actually really much shaped the rest of your career. Probably if you did not have that internship, you might be an MD or you might be doing something else entirely. Right. How important is it, in your opinion, for students, fresh grads, how important is it to choose the right company for your first gig ever? Is it just you? In your case, it shaped the rest of your career, or is it really critical to pick the right company for anyone?
I love that question, Julianne. I think a couple of things. I think you can't wait until you're a young grad to decide what you want to do. I think that's why internships are really important. I know with us at Nutanix, I hire over a dozen interns every summer. I'm deeply passionate about giving folks that are in school an opportunity to see what it's like inside a corporation. And so when I get approached through my network or through our recruiting process, when I meet with these individuals, I ask them why they would like an internship. Is it for the money or is it for the experience? And what I really believe is, unless you know what you're studying and you can experience it, you're never going to get the benefit of having a career path. You can't wait 4 years and take a job and go, oh, well, I don't really like this.
I agree wholeheartedly. I wish I had that tips when I was a student, because I had a first internship selling shoes in a store and a second internship selling magazine ads door to door with various companies. That was not super insightful. I wish I had a better mentor like you back in the days to guide me on this way. You're saying you need to find it out before you're a fresh grad, which I absolutely agree. Yeah. But do you have the maturity before you're a fresh grad to really ask yourself the right question? Is it something for everyone, or is it a chosen few that have that maturity during their studies?
Yeah, I don't think everyone has that maturity. I think depending on the program that you're involved in, my son is 17. We're looking at colleges for him right now. And so I'm in his ear a lot. And even when we meet with college counselors, I'm asking about study abroad programs. I'm asking about work experience. I really want him to learn. That's what you're in school for. So get a full experience and ask those questions as a part of your undergrad or graduate program. If you believe you've got the aptitude and interest in a career, go talk to professionals that are actually in the job. Really try to understand what your world would be like. It doesn't have to be an internship. Sometimes they're hard to get. But, do your information interviews, do your research. There's so much information available now, even more so than when I was coming up.
Agreed.
School. So really the onus is on the individual to determine if that career path is really something that's going to work for them in practice, not just in theory.
Switching to a completely different topic, looking at your background, there was something else I noticed, and I'm wondering, same thing, if it's by design or if it's just a coincidence. You seem to be quite the expert at giving companies an exit. Many companies you've worked at managed to be acquired by bigger groups at some point. I think I've listed 4 or 5 of them that has this exact path. Is it just a coincidence, or is it part of your expertise and companies hire you because they want to have either an IPO or an exit with an acquisition? Is it part of your DNA at this point?
Very astute question. I'm amazed that you found that. It's not deliberate. And, I'm not looked at to be hired for that kind of thing. But I think any good marketer, especially in this day and age, we are growth catalysts. We're growth architects. We're not just tacticians any longer. And so I've always had, over the years, my experience has given me a strategic lens. And having that experience, particularly at a company called Legato Systems, when I ran alliances marketing, we aligned with companies like IBM, Sun Microsystems at the time, Oracle, Dell, Microsoft. And so we architected partnerships. And once these partnerships start to take off, if you're a company that's in a growth area, these larger companies find you attractive because they're looking for additional revenue streams. So I think that's the strategic aspect of it. For me, I chase the growth. That's what excites me, because if I can get my hands into something that's gray area, it's really hard. You have to shape it. You have to strategize. You have to partner very closely with your go-to-market teams, your selling teams, your alliances teams, and the C-suite to be able to go drive the wins in these organizations. That comes, right? That becomes the trophy at the end of it. And so I think it's push and pull is how I architect and classify that.
So another interesting twist in your career is, I mentioned you started in Vancouver, but a couple of decades ago you moved to California.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, it was the Silicon Valley and everything was happening there. Was it a choice, meaning that you wanted to move there no matter what? Or did you just have an opportunity you could not say no to? Or how did that happen? Why did you leave Canada to move to the US?
It was very intentional. It was a goal. And so I set my sights on it. And for me, I knew I had to go play in the big leagues, an American term, right? Canada, Vancouver was fantastic. I was getting a lot of great experience, but I really felt like I needed to be in Silicon Valley because that's where all the action was. And so I set that as a goal. And, within a very short period of time, actually was able to connect with a company, Legato, that not only did my immigration, but moved me to the Bay Area. I didn't know anyone. And I started my career journey in Silicon Valley as a result of that goal.
I love that. 20 years ago, I decided I'm coming from a small city in France. So Vancouver is a gigantic city compared to where I'm coming from. And I had a similar path, not Silicon Valley, but I told myself, look, if you want to be taken seriously, if you want to build a big career, you got to move. So I moved to Hong Kong, and I have the exact same feeling. At some point, you got to take risk. You may not know anyone. That might be scary, but you gotta take risk if you wanna build your career. Love the insight here. Another aspect, again, because there's so many things about your career. One thing that I've noticed is you are, as I mentioned earlier, you're a member of the board of directors at Quick. And this is something we see quite often with executive. Many people are always they are always part of the board of directors of other companies. Some of them kind of make it a full-time job, and they are a member of 5, 6 different boards. You are at the board of one of them. Why do you do that? What does it bring you? How did you get there? Tell us a little bit about that experience that is kind of unknown from most people. If you haven't reached that level, it may still be a mystery. So can you help us uncover that mystery?
Yeah, certainly. I think, for me personally, I derive great satisfaction out of being on the board of Quick, because I get to be an advisor. And so I play two sides, right? In my day-to-day, I'm working with board members that are advising us. And so now it helps me be a better employee and board member when I have the experience with my Nutanix experience and my Quick experience. So having the ability, because I have the experience working at startups that are scaling and growing, I'm able to go share that with the team at Quick and partner with the CEO and the other board members to help go drive the strategy. I find that really fulfilling because I love startups. One of the reasons I came to Silicon Valley was to be in the startup game. And now I sit on as an executive at a publicly traded company, but I love that startup DNA. So it keeps me whole from that perspective. I love that. How they found me was through the power of my network. And I met with a couple of folks. Another board member actually recommended me for the role. And so the day I joined Nutanix, ironically, is the day I got a phone call from the CEO, Mike Meyer of Quick. And he asked me if I'd be interested in learning more about his company and talking about joining the board of directors. And so timing was very interesting, something in the stars, I guess, at that time. And once I got to meet Mike and understand his technology, AI wasn't as big then as it is now. I jumped on the opportunity because I knew it was going to be game changing. And sure enough, customer experience in the AI space is a massive, massive opportunity. Agents, right, are the future. It's here now. And so guiding this business and also learning, right? This new space is helping me in many ways, and I'm giving back and helping them as well. And I hope to, as the years progress, take on more boards, because I don't think I'll ever leave tech. I may not be a day-to-day operator, in my future, but even once I retire, I would love to be involved in an advisory capacity on boards.
You talk about giving back, and it's interesting because you've got your full-time job that keeps you busy and traveling all around the world. You're part of the board at Quick. You also happen to be a founding member of 2 major communities. I mentioned earlier, CMO huddles and Chief. How do you find the time to do that? For one, and second, what does that bring you? What is the upside for you? What do you learn from it? Why do you enjoy it?
Yeah, for me, I'm passionate about marketing. I'm a business person with a deep passion for marketing. And so in that realm, CMO huddles, when it was tiny, I became a part of it. And this was really during the pandemic. And so we all had a little more time on our hands. It's much more challenging these days. But back then it was more just talking and navigating this unknown that we were all going through together. So it became a source of solace in many respects and community that we all needed. And I met some great people along the way, and slightly different. That's a marketing audience. And so there's marketers of all flavors, more senior in leadership, but across different companies and sizes. So great networking, great learning opportunity and teaching opportunity. With Chief, slightly different. It's a female executive forum. And so I feel like I've got enough on the marketing realm. I know a lot of marketers now globally, but women executives, I think I love everything that Chief stands for. And I got introduced through one of the coaches, the executive coaches that I've had in my life early on. And we started talking about about Chief. And I was able to put my fingerprints on what I would like to take out of it as an end user. And so for me, Chief has become this sacred space where I really get to think about Mandy as a holistic human, not just Mandy, the marketing executive. And so what they stand for, I absolutely believe in and I'm 100% supportive of. But I also get a lot out of Chief because it pauses me and forces me to think about how to keep myself whole. That's really the secret behind Chief.
Talking about communities, your best community is probably your current team right now, the people you're working with on a daily basis, many of which you've probably recruited yourself at this point. How do you recruit people in your team? One of the things in marketing is you have a million different roles in marketing, from the people doing branding to people doing digital lead gen to many aspects. Some are more focusing on the numbers and managing the Excel sheets and the data and the analytics. Others are more into design and making it pretty. Some are, as you mentioned during your internship, looking at the messaging and the positioning of the product. There's so many roles in marketing. So you probably don't have a one size fits all recruitment trick, but what are you looking for when recruiting people to join your team? What is a special thing that's necessary to work with Mandy?
Yeah, again, your questions are amazing, Julian. I love that you're getting this beneath the surface. For me, it's about experience, smarts, hunger, right? Passion. And so if I were to be interviewing you, I'd be asking, okay, what do you know about my company? What do you know about the role? How do you think that you can help make a difference? And philosophically understand the journey that we're on. Contrary to popular belief, I have not hired many people from the outside for Nutanix, actually. We've been growing our team from within, and we're cross-training is what I call it. Because marketing is one of those functions where if I'm a great product marketer and I want to go learn how to build go-to-markets and campaigns, you have the base technical knowledge, we're happy to take a bet on you because we know of you. We know your performance, and candidly, we owe it to you as your employer to be able to train you, to give you more out of your role. So that's my philosophy, but it's really about the spark, right? You have to have that spark. In marketing, it's absolutely necessary, irrespective of whether you're doing a left brain job or a right brain job.
I love that you are building career path. I feel that's something that's unfortunately lacking a lot in the industries these days. Well, we are in the tech industry, so we've seen over the past 3 years, there's been tons of layoffs, unfortunately. So it can be a difficult space to navigate these days. But the companies that build career path and bet on their own people and help them grow are usually building two things. They are building loyalty, which is absolutely essential, but they're also building additional skills. Not only they get loyal people, but they get loyal people that are going to bring extra value to the company too. Kudos to you for doing that. How do you detect the future leaders in your team? Because there is the aspect on interview where you're trying to get the spark and making sure you get people who are hungry. I get that. Might not be always easy in an interview, by the way, but I get what you're trying to achieve here. What about those within your team? How do you tell that person that I know this person is going to be a future leader? Today is PMM, but I think he should learn a little bit more the lead gen side of thing, or he should learn a little bit more whatever other side of it.
Yeah, again, awesome question. We are in the middle of now nominating people for our Future Leaders program, and we run a corporate program as well. And so each of my directs and I are putting together a short list of folks that we think that would benefit and become even better at the company and how we support them and train them. But it's a combination of the things that you touched on, right? There's that self-starter, I think, especially in B2B technology, you have to have that drive and motivation. You also have to have the ability to lead people without having the leader title, right? And so how do you bring influence and collaboration, like skills that you have as an individual, and how do you bring that to bear in some of the projects that we're working on, in some of the initiatives that we drive, some of the creativity. And, you know, I'm not talking about having to walk on water to go get these things, because we're all human at the end of the day, but there's moments of brilliance that come through when you catch people doing things right. And so, you know, and that's part of my job as CMO. I like to know all of my marketers by name and understand what they're working on, not on a daily basis, but understand where their natural aspirations lie, understand what they're really good at. And so we're able to, you know, handpick some folks and invite them to these things so they can go learn and make a difference. And generally, having been a marketer my entire life, we're very ambitious people. And so if we get tapped, you know, it's an honor and it's a privilege to be able to go do so. So I think leading with that excellence mindset and leading by example is a combination of how we go do it. It's really hard to explain because there's a lot of kind of, you know, just 𝗁𝗵𝗁𝗁, if I may.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely, mate.
Right. But let me just put it this way. When you have one of those folks, you all know it.
I like that. I have one chicken and the egg question.
Mm-hmm.
You have skills around communication that are pretty obvious. Just looking a little bit at what you've been doing lately, you have a fantastic followership on LinkedIn, just to name one. You participate in events, you speak on stage, whether it's in front of 5 people or 5,000 people. You talk to the media. You had a few interviews here and there. Is that a result of your success as a CMO, or is that a key to becoming a CMO? Is it because you had these skills that it pushed you in the right direction, or is it, I became a CMO, I have to do this thing, they're coming my way, so I had to learn how to do these things properly?
Both. You have to have some level of aptitude, but it's a muscle. You have to work on it and develop it, right? When I was working at one of the startups, I was at my CEO's staff every operations review every Monday morning, where if my direct VP was not in the room, I was presenting. And so that imposter syndrome goes away real quick, because you're talking about what needs to be done for the business, and you immerse yourself in it. If you know your material, the confidence comes. But having done that has been really instrumental. And I also worked with the CEO in particular on helping hone messaging and PR headlines and you know, storylines and things like that. So that to me was really formative. I was ready for it. He brought me in and we were able to build together. And then from there, you jump from strength to strength. And so I rarely say no to a speaking opportunity. A, I love it. B, I'm passionate about it. And C, I like to tell the Nutanix story. So here I am.
That's a perfect mix.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we already had time, but I have one more question I really want to ask, because I'm asking absolutely everyone. If you had one piece of advice for fresh grads who've made the decision that they wanted to work in marketing and who may have the same ambition as you to someday become CMO, they are early in their careers, they're about to start, what is that single piece of advice that you feel they should hear in order to be successful in their career?
I think the biggest piece of advice that I got that I will now share is be self-aware. You have to know yourself. Be authentic to yourself, know what drives you, know what you love, know what you don't love. Really understand yourself, because once you do, you're able to operate at a very different level.
I love that. This is super insightful. Mandy, thank you so much for your candor today. Thank you for sharing all your secrets. I'm pretty sure there are a bunch of others. We might need to have a follow-up at some point to get to the bottom of it. But thank you so much for your time today. Thank you everyone for watching yet another inspiring episode of Marketing Blueprint. And Mandy, please enjoy your time in the Paris office. Hope your event will be super successful. Thank you for your time today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Julian. Really appreciate the time.